Dr. Ann, we are live once again. Thank you
Fantastic.
thank you so much for joining us on this evening. Again, I feel blessed to have amazing people in my life, some that do tremendous things in the world. And you're one of those inspiring people that I
Oh,
always
kid.
look up to, because you're so you do so much in the world. You're a medical doctor, you are a holistic practitioner, you are a guide in the mystery school, you're part of the Goddess Council, you travel all over the world, and you always have everybody's health and well-being at the foremost front of your mind. And that to me is an inspiration. If we could all take a leaf out of your book, I know the world would be a truly better place. So we're very blessed to have you on this evening. Thank you, Anne.
Oh, Kate, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I feel very blessed to have you in my life, by the way, and thank you for this opportunity to chat. I really appreciate it.
So, Anne, this is part two, and we did part
Yes.
one some time ago, and here we are again in lockdown, part two. So it felt right to have you back on to the podcast and to discuss just how we can keep our mental and emotional well-being in check, how we can check on others, and what can we put in place on the run up to Christmas. So there's a lot to cover in this podcast, I feel. So I think I'd like to start, from the beginning, and just, get an overview from your own perspective on the importance of self-care and mental and emotional, looking after your mental and emotional well-being in these times. Could you share something about that from, both your medical background and obviously your holistic background too?
Oh, thank you so much, Kate. Yes, actually, when I was thinking about, chatting to you today, Kate, I was thinking in particular about self-care, and about the run up to Christmas and about the amount of stress that everyone generally is under at the moment. I really do feel so blessed to have, mystery school teachings, mystery school healings at my fingertips, all of the work that we have done down through the years, both together, Kate, and, as a collective in the mystery school. And when I think about the general public, I think about the amount of stress that people have and maybe don't have certain tools, to buffer what's going on. And we have so much stress at the minute. I'm just thinking about the American elections, in America, our colleagues over there, how that's affecting the way we see the world at the minute. Also the way that COVID, we're having to go into a lockdown, certainly in the United Kingdom, and we've already been in a lockdown here to a degree, not as strict as our first lockdown was. We have a little bit more mobility, but still we're having to adjust our lifestyles all over again. And to a degree, this could have been predicted. And in a sense, we were talking about this occurring again, and I think everyone is looking forward, yes, to December and what is Christmas going to look like. So there are many things to think about, really. And if we look at the common factor in all of that, I was thinking about, the amount of stress that's featured in each of those situations. And before I mentioned, the cornerstones to looking after our immunity, and those four cornerstones certainly are regular exercise, making sure that our nutrition is tip top as best as we can under the given circumstances. Also looking at our sleep habits and our sleep hygiene, as it were, and then of course the piece which is stress. So those are the four cornerstones, and maybe we could go in a little bit more into the stress aspect of things, Kate, today, because I do feel that there's so much pressure just at the moment from all of those different angles. And when we think of Christmas generally, very often we think of family time, we think of togetherness, we think of presence, we think of being together, and it may look very different. We don't know what it's going to look so much like this year. but Christmas is always a stressful time as well for certain people. If you've had a recent bereavement, if you've had maybe it's an anniversary that's coming up, that's affecting you. Christmas is meant to be a family time, and there may be, for some people it's not possible, and so when that is the case, ultimately our self-care comes to the fore. And looking after ourselves comes into all of those areas. It comes into our physical well-being, it comes into our mental well-being. And when we think of the physical, I was just thinking about, all of the treats that we have at our fingertips coming up to Christmas, all of the indulgences that we have. And I also do acknowledge that for many people, there's a stress around, will I gain weight over Christmas? Will I be as healthy as I ought to be? And, how to counter that, because there's a certain stress in that as well. And when people are thinking about how they behave at Christmas, sometimes we can be counterproductive. When we are added stress, we can actually overeat because as a result of stress. So I've used the word stress a lot during this first couple of sentences. So what I'd really love to do is to see how can we ease that. And, sometimes I always feel that, when we exercise the body, we're pushing the body beyond what the comfort zone is in order to see gains. When we're looking at our stress within our body, I often feel it as, if we push back against stress, that can sometimes be quite counterproductive as well. So we have to learn in some way of relaxing.
And how do we do that? How do we do that? Because that's an interesting point that you're bringing up. So how do we know? Because when I like to exercise,
Yes.
and and I'm pushing myself, and I need to push myself to grow, to expand, and there's that uncomfortable zone, and we talk about that in magic as well, don't we? That uncomfortable zone, which is really the magic spot where we can expand. But then how do we know where that uncomfortable zone then becomes counterproductive? How would we spot that, Anne?
Really good question, Kate. And a lot of it has to do with our tendency towards, if you notice that the way we normally treat those who are closest to us, or maybe we find that we're a little bit more reactive than usual. It's when that tetchy reactiveness comes into play that we know there's something that there's a counterintuitiveness to that piece where we're not countering the balance of self-care. Because this self-care piece, when we think about what's inside us, there's our physicality, there's the way our mind functions, there's the way that we feel emotionally, and for some people that's more an issue than others. And then of course we have that spiritual connection as well, where we're feeling the piece of, I suppose, a level of peace and acceptance about what's going on in our lives, as well as taking action against those things that we can take action over. So it's about finding that calm as we push. And it's almost like, the two parts of our brain. There's the masculine force side of our brain, and then of course the feminine intuitive side of our brain as well. And I do feel that sometimes we see that reflected in the outside world at the minute. I've noticed a lot more people coming to me with type A personalities that would have been, push, 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 but they're noticing that sense of exhaustion, that sense of, I'm not sure that I can keep this going at the same level. And part of that is this, when we're asked to isolate, it's harder because our type A personalities very often find that they don't have the distraction that they normally would have, to keep the things going that we normally would keep us in our comfort zone. So comfort zone for a type A personality is go, 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 go. A comfort zone for maybe a type B personality is to relax. And it's where, we find the balance with both of those. And it's really interesting. This is all about the journey of getting to know ourselves. Where does my comfort zone exist? And where do I have to push more? Or where do I have to explore more? And it's about finding that balance between both.
So, and that's a really interesting point that you bring up, and getting to know ourselves. So, I noticed that a lot of people get to Christmas, and the run up to Christmas, and they're running around doing lots more stuff. Well, we can't do parties and such like now, but they're buying presents, they're getting stressed about money, they're thinking about how many chairs they're going to have to try and have a Christmas Day. But this year we're not going to have those set of stressors, but yet we've got another set of stressors of how what Christmas might look like on their own, how what have we got to look forward to. And something interesting somebody said to me the other day is that people are struggling because they work hard and they play hard. Yet now we've had all of the entertainment, let's say, industry taken away, the restaurants and the bowling alleys and the cinemas and all the rest of it. And now what we're finding is that those people that are working hard all day then and live for the weekend or live for the holidays, live for Christmas or whatever it is, then they aren't actually able to blow off steam, let's say, or have fun in the way that they know how to do it. So what they're finding is that it's incredibly stressful. How are we going to, how do people deal with this? Because I'm thinking that this is in for a few more years yet, of perhaps not returning to a life that we know. What suggestions could you make, Anne, to help people, find that balance?
It's a great question, really, Kate, and something that is going to look very individual. Personally, I always recommend at least giving meditation a go. And the very idea of it for some people just seems so far removed that, sitting still for a short period of time just seems like a very difficult thing to do. So some people do need to move. Some people need to physically move in order to meditate. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we do have means of being able to do that. We call it a Qi-Do practice, within the mystery school, and it coordinates the breath with the movement, and it actually allows the Qi to move through the body. And I think this is invaluable right now, Kate, because we're sitting at the computers an awful lot longer. We're stagnant a little bit more when we can't go outdoors as much. And it's really, really important we have some form of movement every day. I would say if you get up, especially if you're sitting at the computer for long periods of time, one of the things I did was I gave my brother a little tuition on yoga this morning, on certain yoga moves to work with his, shoulders and his chest muscles and his neck muscles. Because even the fact that our head on the shoulders looks, like a shape of a football, if you think about where the center of gravity is, it's just in front of the ears, really. So your neck muscles are working continuously to keep your head in place. And one of the commonest things that happens, especially if we're working with laptops, is we tend to go like that, where your head is closer to the computer. So I always say, take your finger, and push your chin back so that it's in alignment, with your spine. And it's one of those things, and even just sitting, with your one arm on top of the other on your desk and letting your head fall forward in between your arms so that your head hangs, just letting the back of the neck relax, because the muscles at the back of the neck are constantly working when we're working with a screen. And, with that, just allowing that to happen for 1 minute, and you'll find that as you breathe in, there's an extra wee stretch, and as you breathe back out again, those muscles begin to relax again. And with that relaxation, you're giving the back of your neck such a good, a good surface, as it were. I keep on thinking of the amount of stress at the back of the neck at the minute. So that's just one idea. That's
No,
looking after our physical body. Sorry, Kate.
I was going to say, I love that. I just tried that briefly, and that pulling of the back, and I felt more aligned, and I made more room for my lungs, and just by that movement. Oh my goodness, that was lovely. Just remembering. Thank you, Anne. That was a top tip there. Thank you.
Yeah, it's something simple, really, really simple, and there's only the simple things that can, make a big difference. So there's looking after the physicality, getting up and moving around. If you like music, have a little dance, in between your Zoom sessions, because we have to have fun. Christmas is all about fun, enjoyment. And if we can't be together, I would say keep the strands of communication open, because we really need to start talking about this now with our loved ones, to start talking, whatever means we can, to say, look, how are we going to manage this? And to have a couple of options open, so that, maybe we'll be able to visit each other's gardens. Maybe we'll be able to, how are we going to make that possible, keep ourselves warm, make sure that we don't get, foundered, as they say here in Ireland, but just to make sure that, we're looking after each other still, whatever the circumstances are come Christmas. And, at Christmas, there's obviously a greater sense of frivolity, and we'll want to take more alcohol perhaps. And if that is the case, to remember to keep hydration, as a priority. I'm a big advocate of drinking lots of water generally. But when it comes to, if you don't want to overeat, if you don't want to overdrink, if you don't want to overdo anything, if you keep a glass of water in between times and you're continually sipping that, or taking at least 5 to 6 glasses of water a day, you'll find that hydration not only eases the fogginess in the mind, and if you find that you're getting tired, a glass of water is such, a pick me up, and you will find that as you drink more water, you'll feel more thirsty, and that's a sure sign that you need more water. So obviously, someone who's has a medical reason for not drinking so much water, please, stick with your medical advice. But for those of us who can, the vast majority of us are actually in a dehydrated state.
I am a big fan of that, Anne. I'm busily promoting that in our household, namely my husband. In the morning, please drink more. And I've noticed since I've been wearing masks, obviously
Yes.
before the second lockdown, because I was in the mask all day and I was teaching or whatever, I found that I got very dehydrated, and my water intake. Luckily, you were on hand, Anne, and you reminded me to drink more water, and it really worked just 24 hours later. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Even though I knew that I had to drink water, and I know these things, it's having the reminders, having, whatever, have a support team around you, or friends and people that you can all, talk about health and well-being to, because we don't always remember on our own. We don't always remember that we can do Cheeto, we can get up and do Cheeto, or we can go for online meditation.
Yes.
We're doing them, free for everybody right now as well. We forget that we can go out for a walk. We can forget that we can pick up the phone and give somebody a call if we're feeling lonely. It sounds simple, but people forget.
They do. They do. And I think it's just about helping each other to remember. And there's nothing as good as having a conversation, an open and honest conversation with a loved one. Oh my God, it's so freeing, especially if we are feeling a little low, And this is a season, for where people who maybe don't have as large a circle of friends, or perhaps whose family circle is limited, where loneliness can be a big piece. And please always reach out. always reach out. Don't have yourself, to that point where, it's getting to you, and pulling you down. And this is one of the things I would say is self-monitoring, as well, Kate. I one of the practices that I've been doing since I was probably in my 20s, and that's a wee while ago, but we'll not say how long. But since I was in my 20s, since I was in my 20s, I started monitoring my thoughts. And, as I was monitoring them, I realized how my mood was so connected to what I was thinking, and how it would actually spur, one thought could bring my mood from ding, 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 ding to all the way down. And I think for women as well, that, cyclical change that we go through, we are more prone to thinking less of ourselves. If you find yourself looking in a mirror and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, look at that spot, and you don't see the radiant beauty that's sitting in front of you, you have to ask yourself what's going on. What is it that, is I'm allowing to pull me down? And I think as women in particular, we need to be really supportive of each other in that respect, and really celebrating each other, and helping each other, all generations, right the way through, because younger and younger and younger girls are feeling more and more conscious of their appearance, and how they appear to the world as well, and gentlemen as well. So there's a lot of pressure out there, to to show the best side of yourself. But I think it's important that we also understand that in these pressured times, that it's okay, to reach out to each other.
So, Anne, this is interesting, because here we've been asked by the government to track and trace. So it means that if we get a message on our phone, we've downloaded the app and we're asked to isolate for 14 days. People I know are doing this. They're being fantastic. And I know people are taking this on board and really. But what I have heard, and a few conversations that I've had, that it's okay for the first 5 to 7 days. And then even people with, good self-help tools are struggling in that second half, because the world is going on, and they can't leave those, the four walls, especially here in London. Maybe we don't have gardens and, so readily available. We can't just pop out. So in those times, Anne, how can we reach out to people and look out for people that are in isolation? What can we be doing to support them? And if we are in isolation, what can we be doing, as self-help practices as well?
Yeah, I can really relate to this, Kate, actually, because I had to isolate at the beginning of COVID first, the first wave. And, in the beginning, it's a novelty for sure. You can pick up the different things, that the list of things that we normally say to ourselves, look, I need to get this done. And can make a little list for ourselves for sure. And we can clean out the cupboards that, we've been talking about cleaning, but there's only, again, so much we can do before you think to yourself, oh gosh, So if you know anyone who is self-isolating, I really recommend that you reach out to them. And that as a community, and as friends, as loved ones, as family, that we keep connected to each other. And there are different ways of doing this. Not everyone is technology savvy. And if that is the case, to lift the phone, or, I hear and I see beautiful stories, of little ones coming to see, Granny and Granta, just outside the window. And, we underestimate how the impact of that visit. As a young person, we've got busy lives going on. We forget how when you're having to shield, when you're having to isolate, how the mind can play tricks on us and how the mind can get us down. And so it's coming back, interestingly, to where we started, Kate. It's that balance between busyness and that balance between, what we do when we have time on our hands, how we can fill that. Now, I know here at the Mystery School, we do evenings 7:30 every Monday and Wednesday night, and we're going to start one now on Thursdays as well. But the Monday night is a meditation, just half an hour. So it's a beautiful introduction to the concept of meditation and sitting in the one place. But even if you only sat for the first 10 minutes, because that is the relaxation bit. And to me, that is key to everything, because we hold stress in our physical body. And when we're able to let go of it in the physical body, then the mind is able to give us that little bit more breathing space. We are able to breathe. We're able to break the stress cycle because we're breathing more naturally, more deeply. If you find yourself checking in with your breathing and you're breathing very shallow, you're breathing from a stressed place. So if you can breathe deeper and breathe into the tummy, so that the belly really expands. So not wearing your tightest jeans, but wearing something a little bit more flexible so that you can really enjoy the belly expansion when you breathe in. And as you breathe back out again, then to really allow the belly to relax. So breath work, body work. And then, of course, the next piece in that meditation is to really relax the mind. And, we have a global network of Max Meditation teachers, and we have on the website as well, Kate, weekly meditations available from practitioners all over Europe and the United Kingdom. So I would really recommend that if our 7:30 at night doesn't suit you, that you click in another time and that you just give it a go. It may be your thing, it may not. Chi Do is on a Wednesday night. That's the moving meditation. And then we're talking about actually starting another stress rescue as well, Kate, isn't that right?
Yes, Anne. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I think we very much need that right now. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you, and if I kind of wanted to just let's summarize this in a little bit, is that it's been fascinating to chat to you because all of the things you have suggested are simple, free, and everybody can do them. And
Yes.
that to me is, it's phenomenal because, we can all drink more water. We're fortunate enough to live in a country, most of us, listening around the world, that we have free drinking water, or some water available to us. So we can all drink more water. We can all breathe deeper into those, practices. We can all try meditation, because if you're listening to this and you have access to online, and we're providing free meditations. You can try Chi Do. Most people can move their arms and their legs, and if they can't move their legs, they can move their arms. So this, again, most of us have access to good food, or some good food that we can sustain and nourish ourselves with. Most of us have access to at least one other person that we can talk to, or we can share those doubts and those fears with, or connect in. And if you aren't one of those people, I want to say right now, please call us or email me, and
Yes.
we will set you up with a buddy right away. So
Yes.
we've all got access to somebody or a group. So these are all things that are de-stressors, that are free. Everybody can do them right away, right now, and they are simple. And I mean, that to me
Yes.
is phenomenal.
Yes. And the other thing I would say is, if Christmas is something that is worrying you right now, I just want you to start opening up strands of communication with your loved ones. What is the kind of Christmas that you would really like to have? And just keep those strands of communication open as well. Communicate as best you can. And if you find that difficult, just tune in with meditations and connect with us whatever way you can.
Mhm. Thank you, Anne. And we're coming to the close. You know, we're sadly running out of time, so I would like to get you back on again in maybe a few weeks' time, just on the run up to Christmas, because I feel, you know, we'll need that. Just to round off, Anne, you know, from a GP perspective, from a medical background, all the things that we have suggested, like meditation, you know, people might be sitting out there with various medical conditions thinking, well, that's not going to help me, or, you know, that's not going to, I need such and such. Can you just, you know, give us, you know, give those people some idea of will it help them, or, you know, if they've got a physical medical condition, does breathing actually help, or does meditation actually help?
Thank you for asking that question, Kate. Actually, the one thing that I have seen consistently in my practice, and it's funny, I ask everyone to join my meditation class as much as they can, and it's one of those passions that I have, Kate, in keeping the Max meditation going on around the globe, is this idea that stress has been and is recognized as the number one cause of chronic illness within our society. And if we can in some way alleviate that, in some way relieve that, and my firm belief is that meditation has a huge impact on that, be it moving meditation, be it sitting meditation, because what it does is, you know, it helps us in our mind. So if, you know, if you're trying to come to terms with illness, if you're maybe had a new diagnosis, if you find that maybe you're living with a degree of uncertainty and you don't know what the future has for you, the thing that you have to live with most is the landscape of your own mind. And, you know, if you can in some way alleviate, you know, the pieces that drive you a little nuts, and that could be, you know, one thought that runs around playing havoc, and you can capture it, you can see it, you can, you know, once you start observing what your thoughts are, and meditation really teaches us to do this, then you're able to say, aha, so that's that thought again, and you're able to capture it before it creates that down spiral of emotion and that depression and that feeling of loneliness, as if you're the only person experiencing this right now. And, you know, one of the things that I have learned as well down through the years is that, you know, emotions, our thought processes are indeed something that connect us all. And it's that, you know, struggle that each one of us has. And we might not have the same things going on in our lives, but the running thoughts, the upsetting emotions, all of that is universal. And I think that it's something that we can help each other with. And I do recognize that there are tools that we can use. So yes, it doesn't matter what your medical condition is, and meditation, if you wish to afford it the time, then I would really 100% recommend it.
Thank you, Dr. Anne. Anna has spoken. So, you know, we should listen, because, you know, there's been many times where, I've gone to Anne with, you know, different clients, you know, backgrounds, and, you know, with their permission, of course. And she's an amazing medical doctor, an amazing holistic practitioner, guide in the mystery school. She really has those, you know, both worlds that are joined together, and her knowledge and wisdom is way beyond. And I wish everybody could have a medical doctor such as you, Anne. And that is my wish and prayer. I'm sure that there's lots of wonderful doctors out there who share your views and passions and such like. And so thank you so much for taking the time to help us remember the simple things that are going to make a big impact in this lockdown and on the run up to Christmas. We're truly grateful. So thank you, Anne.
Oh, Kate, I'm so grateful to have been here with you, and thank you for your time and for doing these wonderful interviews, because I know it gives everyone a chance to know all the various different talents that we have in the mystery school, and you know, that the different parts of life that each of us come from. And I think one day, Dr. Kate Bartram-Brown, we ought to interview you. Would you go
Well,
for
yes, I
that,
mean,
Dr. Kate?
yes, one day. It's always easy to be the interviewer, I find.
Well, it would be my pleasure, Kate, and my honor to interview you, my darling. So if you're up for it, let's do that someday soon.
Challenge accepted, and challenge accepted. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you, everyone. And please, I'm going to pop Anne's details in the box. She does take on new clients. She may be busy right now with everything that's going on. I know she's at the hospital a lot, but please, I know she does occasionally, take on new clients. So message her, and she has a wealth of knowledge from, as I said, both backgrounds. So if you're unsure about getting into the world of energy because you have a lot of medical issues going on, then Anne would be certainly an excellent starting point. And for anybody else that wants to get in touch with Anne, we're going to put her website down here, if that's okay with you.
I'd be delighted. Thank you, Kate.
Lovely. So good night, everyone, and we will see you again soon.
Oh, thank you so much, Kate. Bye-bye, everyone.